If you've ever wondered how to make carbon fiber parts using pourable foam, this is the episode for you. Here in the shop, we're going to be making a pourable foam mold for the first time. So I've got myself some pourable foam. I selected some 4-pound foam from Composite Envisions. I've got a little project that could be a fun first carbon fiber project for somebody that was just trying to you know, dabble your feet and give it a try. Okay, so in a past episode, you watched me make this shifter. Now, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Go back, watch the shifter episode. All right, so I made this shifter, and it's a stock Mustang shifter that I've redesigned to work on within my transmission tunnel. And I bought a shift knob to fit on it, right? And even when I made that episode, I thought, something isn't gonna look right here. And this is where the pourable foam comes in. Okay, so this is what I'm left with here. So you can see that in a Mustang, this is designed to have the shift boot cover over that shifter. And in this application, I can't do that. I want that shifter exposed. But these things here are incongruent, right? So the top, the end of the ball here, and the size here, that looks dorky. So one of the ways we can get rid of that look is by using a pourable urethane foam. Okay, so the first part of that particular process is to create yourself a mold. So in this case, I've just used my 3D printer again. I've modeled up what the shape of the shifter is, so all the angles and various things. And then I've designed a mold that allows the shifter to fit inside the mold perfectly. And it's got a hole, right, in the mold. Okay, so there's a hole in the mold, and that's where we're going to be pouring in the urethane foam. Now, this urethane foam is not, if you've used, you know, spray foam and other things around your house, it's not like that. It's not that kind of product. So it's quite a bit more dense than that. It's 4-pound is the foam that I've decided to use. So we'll be sealing this up, pouring the foam in, and then the foam will fill all of these cavities. It'll give us a nice stiff urethane cover over top of the steel. It'll bond really well to the steel. You don't have to do anything with that. And when we're done, we're going to cover that with carbon fiber. Okay, so after I printed the mold, all I've done is gone inside and sanded to remove the lines that a 3D printer normally leaves on the part surface. I just want it to be nice and smooth, so I've sanded off the lines, and then I've treated the inside of this mold with the same release agent that I normally use for all of my carbon fiber parts, right? So it's just, it's Loctite 701NC is the release agent. That should work with this just fine. Do read the instructions very carefully. This foam expands at a ratio of 15 to 1. So one part of that foam becomes 15 parts when you're done. So you don't actually need a whole lot to fill the cavities and voids in this. All right, and I expect this is going to be an exciting little bit of hilarities. Okay, so once you get that foam mixed up, you've got all of about 45 seconds before it starts to expand like crazy. So I won't be doing a whole lot of talking in that part. Okay, so before we get going with pouring the foam, we want to make sure the part is really clean. So this part's previously been sandblasted. So it's still, it's been a month or so since that's been done though. So I'm just wiping it down with a little bit of acetone to make sure that any contaminants that are on the part have been removed. Okay, so we're going to set this aside to dry now that we're happy enough with the quality of its cleanliness. And then we're going to get going and prepare the mold. You can see a little bit better how the shifter fills that volume. So there's not a whole lot of area left. And we do want to make a reasonably careful calculation of the area remaining in here so that we get that kind of as right as we can. Now, at 15 to 1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up about 20 milliliters in the knowledge that I'm going to pour about half of that in and throw the rest out, because I'll never be able to mix it at the ratio that I have to and get it accurate enough, because I need so little to actually fill that volume. Alright, so to seal this up and to get it centered nicely, I've just used a little bit of hot melt glue, which is again the other version of the handyman's secret weapon. And we've sealed it all up at the top as well, even though this was a very tight fit, so that's perfect. We're now going to put it into the vise over here and get ready to pour the foam. Okay, just so I get this right, I will mix these two into separate cups, which is a good practice generally. The off chance you've done something incorrectly, repair as possible. It's kind of fun actually, I like doing this. 10 cc's of both products, stir, stick, and a prayer. So you got 45 seconds. I do have a timer kind of on the camera actually. So you want to just mix it so it's thoroughly mixed, but you don't have a ton of time. Okay, and then down the hole it goes. Just slowly pouring it in. Right, so once that starts to expand, it comes out there actually pretty quickly. Not as quick as it shows. This is the video lapse, but it's still, it's coming out. I overshot that volume just a little bit. Okay, so I've got the molds all cleaned out. We're ready to go again. So I've got 3 coats of wax. This is just a standard mold wax that I've used on these parts. So it's our Rexco mold release wax. And now I'm going to actually just lightly dust the molds with a bit of PVA as a final barrier so we don't have this problem again. Fingers crossed. We're going to just dust the parts off first, so just triggering it without pulling the trigger really heavily so that the fluid flow is initiated. And that's coat number 1. Piece of cake. Hey, we got a good part. Again, no problemo. Totally stoked with that. It's good. Not worried about these little imperfections at the bottom. We could just use a little bit of body filler to fill those in. We got a bit of work to do on the rest, but that is the basic core now for the shifter, which we'll be covering in carbon fiber. Again, this little bit of flash here on the side will come off just with a knife. And the foam is stiff enough that it can be sanded. So with the part demolded, it was time to smooth out all the transitions and round some of the corners because it's easier to do with sandpaper than it is for me to do it in CAD. And then I filled up the transitions with a little bit of long strand body filler, so kitty hair, just to to make it nice and smooth base to lay the carbon fiber. So then on the sleeve goes, and you compress the sleeve first, and then put it onto the part, and then extend it. And it is like a Chinese finger puzzle. So once it's extended, it's sort of locked down. And I didn't have any laminating resin. I only had infusion resin. So on with the infusion resin, just dab it in with the brush. It's fine. Again, it'll fully saturate onto the back of the part and be fine. And then I add the second layer. So again, the sleeve goes on uncompressed, and then you compress it and smooth it out and get the lay of the fibers as good as you possibly can. Now, there were some little tiny errors, but not many. It actually looks pretty good. I'm happy with the result. I added a little bit of peel ply to soak up excess resin, and then I used just masking tape for compression. It did leave a few tiny little compression lines, but I'm satisfied with the finished part. All right, as always, it's one day later. The epoxy has now hardened up, so we're going to take the tape off and we'll see what we've got. Normally when I do this, of course, we're attempting to break something out of a mold, and I usually say cue the music, but in this one, we're just going to undo the tape, say a little prayer. I have no idea if this is going to work. I've literally never done this before. I suppose I could have vacuum bagged it. Someone's going to say that. Oh, just throw it in a vacuum bag. Oh, whatever. Now, if it doesn't work out, I'll vacuum bag the next one. That turned out fantastic. That's just great. So that's exactly what I was looking for. Again, it's just a cosmetic part. It's super tight, like there's bull strong. Looks great, and is exactly the look I was going for with this part. Actually, let's try the shift boot on it, just for fun. Okay, so we now have the, you know, it fills out the shift boot nicely. There's no gap here. It looks really good. Okay. All right, so now we're at the point where we've got to get the clear on the shifter. So I've sanded it off. It actually turned out really lovely. So I'm very pleased with the way it all turned out, despite some of the negative feedback on Instagram, whatever. Anyways, I am happy with the way it turned out. You can't see it. You just can't see it. For a hand-laid piece, about as good as I can get. So let's get the clear on it, and we'll see how it turns out. This is a very, very hard part to film, but that's the finished part. Again, I'm hoping that the camera is able to pick up some of the detail. The fabric weave isn't perfect, but it's awfully good. There's 2 layers of carbon fiber on this, so it's bull strong, and a couple of coats of urethane clear. All right, so that's going to work as a shifter for the car. Okay, so there it is with the shifter knob on. And I'm loving the way that this actually turned out. Anyway, hey, hopefully it's been fun and informative. Okay, I know I haven't shown you this. This is just a little teaser that I'm putting in at the end of the video for those that stick around until the very bitter end, and thank you for that. Anyway, if you want to find out how I make this shift ball, stay tuned. Coming up.